Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we are going to be seeing if I can become the ultimate simp. Simp! 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 And what better way to do this than playing Super Meat Boy? I woke up today, saw that the right trigger and square button were gone from my controller. So what does a normal person do? Change the keybinds. What do? Play the entire game missing a key mechanic. Because why not? So, like I said, to complete my quest in becoming the ultimate keyboard warrior, I want to see if it's possible to beat Super Meat Boy without sprinting once. As always, I do put a lot of work into my videos, so I'd really appreciate it if you liked the video and maybe even subscribed. Only 5% of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed to the channel, and as always, that makes me pretty sad. So if you want to see me make more videos and make me less sad, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel. We also have a Discord server. It's a pretty cool place just to hang out with people who like games and hopefully like the channel. So if you want to do that, the link is in the description. I'd really appreciate if you joined it. So if you liked the video, consider subscribing, and if not, consider liking the video, and if not, I hope you enjoy it. With all that out of the way, let's get right into the video. Just for this video, since there's like 100 levels in this game, I'm not going to talk about every single level individually because that's just stupid. So I'm only going to talk about the ones that I actually had to strategize for, since they're the only ones that really matter. So with that said, we're on to the first chapter of this game, the forest. Level 1-1 and 1-2 are pretty much impossible to die in unless you're actively trying to die. So none of those were a problem until we got to level 1-3. If you can't see, this level is very clearly supposed to utilize the sprint mechanic because that jump is way too long to jump over it normally. So did we already fail the challenge? It's literally been like 2 minutes. Nope. With some decently precise jumps, you can make it up on top of the ledge that's above you. And using that ledge, you can wall jump off of it to make it over the gap. Level 1-4 and 1-5 are again pretty much impossible to die on. Although, level 1-6 is our first level that actually has saws, but it's easy. Level 1-7 is pretty much the exact same until we get to level 1-8. Level 1-8 is the first level that I actually died on, but that's only because I went for a dumb skip because I thought it was cooler. I don't know. Level 1-9, 1-10, and 1-11 are done pretty easily. In the notes for this video, I have it written down that I'm supposed to talk about level 1-12. I don't know why, because it's not hard, but apparently I'm supposed to talk about it, so I am. Okay, I promise the challenge is gonna get harder after this, but 1-13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 are all extremely easy. I'm sorry. But that all changes on level 18 because level 18 looks harder. That's it. Level 19 is nothing special. But that all changes in level 20 because level 20 requires strategy. In the middle of level 20, there's destroyable walls, which you needed to break to get to the other side. And what you had to do was break all of them, but leave a middle platform so you could jump on it and jump across to the other side. But other than that, this level is pretty easy. With level 20 finished, we're done with every single level in the forest, but we're on to our first boss fight of the challenge, Little Slugger. Now, I'm going to be completely honest here. I don't know if it's just because I suck at this game or because this part is actually hard without sprinting, but this was the first level to actually give me a challenge, mainly because there are breakable walls that you have to break down, and since I can't sprint and there's a giant saw monster chasing after me, I can't do anything about it. So I need to break the walls as fast as possible, but I can't sprint to speed up, so it's hard. After a decent amount of attempts, I finally got a run which was actually fast enough to beat him, but I didn't find any secret strategies. It was literally just me attempting till I was fast enough to beat him, so yeah.
Let's go!
And just like that, we were done chapter 1. For anybody wondering, this was not a new save file just because I'm playing on console, so I didn't feel like deleting my entire save file just for this challenge. But any collectibles I got, I did recollect for this challenge. With chapter 1 complete, we were on to chapter 2, the hospital. Level 2-1 is going to be pretty easy. After a few more attempts, I was always just like a little bit short. So was this the end of the challenge? Still no. Warp zones are secret unlockable levels that are in pretty much every single chapter of the game. And red warp zones can actually make you unlock a new character. And I never set any rules, so technically different characters are allowed, so let's get to that warp zone. Every warp zone is specifically designed to show off the new character's ability, because every character has a different ability. So this warp zone actually isn't terrible, and we beat the 3 levels and unlocked Commander Video. Once we unlocked Commander Video, we retried the first level of the second chapter, and it was easily done. After that scare, level 2-2, 2-3, and 2-4 are done pretty easily. Level 2-5, on the other hand, is actually pretty difficult. Since I can't sprint, I don't get enough speed to actually make the gap. So, was this the end of the challenge? Yeah, no. I'm able to do this really easy skip, and it skips like the entire level. So, yeah. I'd love to give a really long list of levels that were easy, but I can't because 2-6 is the exact same. Since I can't sprint, these fans basically just bully me till I fall over and die. So, was this the end of the challenge? Yeah, no. After a couple attempts, I found that you can literally just walk along the bottom of it. It is pretty difficult, but if you just walk along the bottom of the map, you can actually make it past the fans, and you're perfectly fine. Now, I say this with the most amount of happiness possible. Levels 2-7, 2-8, 2-9, 2-10, 2-11, 2-12, and 2-13 are easily completed with Commander Video, but that stops on level 2-14. Now, the only reason why 2-14 was different from every other level was because of a skill issue. I kind of suck, if you didn't notice. So basically just after a couple of attempts, I finished it. Level 2-15 was finished perfectly fine, but the next few levels introduced something a bit more intimidating: lasers. These lasers go off and on a time duration, so they're actually pretty hard to balance because I can't sprint to go faster. So whenever they turn off and on, I need to go as fast as possible, and since I can't speed up, they actually seemed pretty intimidating, but none of the laser levels were actually that bad. The final level doesn't have any lasers, but it does have Thanos bubbles, so take that as you will. The only problem with this level is that it's a bit challenging to go between platforms, but since I have Commander Video, it's perfectly fine, and we go on to the boss of Chapter 2, Chad. You probably think I'm joking about the name, but I'm not. That's actually what it's called. This fight's actually pretty easy to do sprintless because all of the jumps are easily done without sprinting, and all you have to do is parkour. So after a couple attempts, we made it up to the top and we killed him. And after committing a violent attack on this kid,
what would you do if there was a child right in front of you?
We left to go to Chapter 3, the Salt Factory. But before starting Chapter 3, I realized it was probably a good idea to go back into the warp zone, so we headed back to the hospital and did the warp zone. Upon completion of this warp zone, you unlock Jill, who probably shouldn't be allowed near women and children. Jill's ability is basically whenever you jump into the air and spam the jump button, you float for a bit, and it's kind of like flapping wings, because it's a bat. Get it? Anyways, these levels are done pretty easily because Jill's really fast, so I don't even have to worry about sprinting. I just have to worry about not being garbage. And we beat the 3 levels, and we're now on to the Salt Factory. I used Jill's increased speed to beat 3-1, and then 3-2 I switched back to Commander Video, and I did the same for 3-3. Are you kidding me? Go! Pretty much every level in Chapter 3 I didn't beat first try. There were many attempts after them, but I'm not going to show all of that and explain why for all of them, because that would just take too long. So 3-4, 3-5, and 3-6 were easily completed with Commander Video. For 3-7, I realized I couldn't actually make the gap with Commander Video, so I had to switch back to Jill. Levels 3-8, 3-9, 3-10, and 3-11 were all beaten pretty simply with Jill. 3-12 looks like it's going to be pretty difficult, but since Jill can glide, it's actually pretty easy. 3-13 and 3-14 are pretty easy with Jill's increased speed. And 3-15 is pretty much the same thing as 3-12, where it looks like it's going to be difficult, but since Jill's so fast, I actually don't need to sprint at all, and it's perfectly fine. 3-16 is pretty simple by itself, but I missed the platform, so I had to wait for it to come back. Using Jill, 3-17, 3-18, and 3-19 are all pretty simple as long as I'm not being dumb. The final level of Chapter 3, 3-20, is only really difficult because I have to survive being shot, like, a lot. And I have to do this without sprinting, which isn't actually that bad. And once we finished it, we went on to the boss fight of Chapter 3, Brownie. The one problem with this boss fight is that it's a race, and I can't sprint. So, to make matters even worse, some of the jumps are legit just impossible. And to make them even worse, I can't switch characters and I'm stuck to play as Meat Boy. So, what do we do now? There's something in the game known as Brownie Skip. It's basically just a skip where you can beat the entire boss fight just by jumping around a corner. Here's a video of some guy doing it with his foot. I don't know. The only problem was all the people that I saw do it on YouTube used sprinting, and I can't use sprinting. So I'm not actually sure if this is completely possible. If you can do this, please let me know in the comments and post a proof on your YouTube channel for me to watch, because I'm not 100% sure if it's possible. I might just be garbage, I don't know. But I couldn't get it without sprinting, so this boss is impossible. But hold on, keep watching the video because a lot more of the levels are really cool to see. So yeah, just keep watching the video. With that boss deemed as impossible, we move on to Chapter 4, Hell. Levels 4-1 and 4-2 are easily done with Jill. On the other hand, 4-3 is actually pretty difficult because it's a speed level again, but it is possible with Jill. I just need to not be garbage. 4-4 and 4-5 were done on first attempt, but 4-6 I originally thought was going to be impossible just because of this jump here. But if you get really close to the edge and do a wall jump, you can actually make it to the very bottom of the ramp, and you can complete the level, so I'm okay with that. After that, levels 4-7, 4-8, 4-9, and 4-10 are done pretty simply. 4-11 looks like it's going to be pretty difficult just because of the big gap in the middle, but with Jill's ability, I was able to actually float over it, so it was actually perfectly fine. Levels 4-13, 4-14, and 4-15. Whoa! Okay, that dodge was like, I don't even... Anyways, level 4-16 was actually pretty easy. Level 4-17, on the other hand, was a bit different, just because I suck. That's it. Level 4-18 is done in a couple of attempts. The same thing goes for levels 4-19. Both these levels aren't really impossible, it's just that they're way more hard than the other ones just because of my decreased mobility, because I can't sprint. Level 4-20 is actually pretty cool because it combines all the elements from all the previous levels in this chapter, but it's actually pretty simple because of Jill's increased speed, and once we finish that, we're on to the Chapter 4 boss, Little Horn. So this boss is a bit disappointing. It's really easy. You can even beat the boss without even having to move. So if that says anything about the difficulty, yeah. So it's really just a lot of attempts until I know where to stand, and yeah, he basically just kills himself. After that, we commit another act of violence, this time on the woman we're trying to save. But all of that is irrelevant because we're on to Chapter 5, the Rapture. I completed levels 5-1 and 5-2 pretty easily with Jill, and then I switched back to Commander Video for level 5-3, just so I could avoid the gravity things. Originally for level 5-4, I thought it was impossible because I couldn't move, but I was just being dumb. So I went all the way back to Chapter 4 to do the Warp Zone, even though the character is completely useless. I figured out what I was supposed to do after, but that was like after a half an hour. Levels 5-5, 5-6, and 5-7 are done pretty easily. Well, not easily, but they're done in a couple of attempts. Level 5-8 is pretty simple, but it's definitely really cool because you go down this elevator and you have to dodge between saws, which can be pretty difficult at times, especially since I can't sprint to speed up. But after a few attempts, we also got this one done. Level 5-9 is actually a pretty difficult level, especially for sprintless, because if you don't know, there's these weird mutated meat boys that follow you around, and they're actually faster than non-sprinting Jill, so I had to dodge a lot more than I would have to if I could sprint. After a lot of looping, I could actually get them to stay where they were and then just jump over the top of them, and it was actually pretty simple after I figured that out. Level 5-10 is another one with the weird meat boys, but if I just sit underneath the saws, then they all run into it, which is fine by me. The only problem was the jump at the end. Jill could not actually do that jump, so I wanted to go back to the warp zone. But if you don't know, this is actually the hardest warp zone in the entire game, and I'm not actually sure if it's possible to do without sprinting. So after like a half an hour, I just gave up, and I found out that you can actually do the jump with Commander Video, so I didn't need to do that at all. But it doesn't matter, because we got the level done, so just go to the next one. If you don't know what's happening on screen, it's just like a random occurrence that happens when you beat a level. I don't even know what it does, but I died anyways. It's not actually a part of the main game. I actually don't know what it is, but I don't think it matters. So, yeah. Okay, so this is future editing me. I found out that I didn't actually do level 5-11. I don't know how, but I just didn't do it. So... Alright, jokes aside, level 5-11 was actually pretty difficult, mainly just because of the final part. If you don't know, I have to hit this button up at the top, and then I have to make it up in time to make it through that gap without the door closing, so it's actually pretty difficult. But since I was using Alien Homid, I was using Jill before, I started using Alien Homid, who's way faster, like I've said, and it was actually way easier with him, so yeah. And now back to your scheduled programming. Level 5-11 has another jump that's pretty much impossible, so was this another failure? Nope. Let me introduce to the final warp zone that we haven't done. Ogmo. Psych! Just kidding. This warp zone is actually impossible to do without sprinting, so I guess this is a failure. Still no! Let me introduce you to something known as bandages. Bandages are found throughout random levels in the game, and if you collect a certain amount, you can actually unlock more characters. So after unlocking a couple bandages, we unlocked Alien Homid. Alien Homid's ability is basically if you press the sprint button, you shoot a bullet, and it actually helps you float up into the air, but that's not allowed because it's the sprint button, and I don't have one of those. But he actually has a really high jump, and you can easily make the jump with him. Easily.
Oh!
So easily, in fact, I went back and did it again. I don't know why. I used Alien Homid again for level 5-13 just because of his increased jump and speed. I could easily do it with him. Because of Jill's ability, I can easily glide past all of these levels. The next 5 levels, 5-14, 5-15, 5-16, 5-17, and 5-18 are easily beaten with Jill. 5-19 is not a terrible level. I did it with Jill as well. It just took a lot more attempts because there's a lot more to get used to. It's mainly just more trial and error than the other ones, so I wanted to talk about it. But like I said, after a couple of attempts, we were good and we finished it. Level 5-20, I ended up switching back to Alien Homid, and this is pretty much the same situation as 5-19. It was literally just a lot of attempts because I had to get used to the level itself, but it wasn't difficult after those attempts, and we finished it. With the final level of Chapter 5 complete, we're on to the final boss of Chapter 5, Larry's Lament. I probably said that wrong. This boss fight's a lot like Chapter 4's boss fight. It's actually really easy. All you have to do is stick near the corner to engage in attack, and then the worms will just die. So yeah, anyways, after killing 3 worms, we win, and we're on to the final chapter of this game, the end. Unlike every other chapter in this game, Chapter 6 only has 5 levels, and then 1 boss fight. So it didn't actually take as long, but these levels are way harder. Level 1 was not hard to do without sprinting. The only problem is I have to play as Meat Boy for these levels. So it definitely made it more difficult because I can't be as fast as I would be if I was playing as Jill or Alien Homid. But as usual with these later levels, after a few attempts, I finished it pretty easily. Level 6-2 is actually a really easy level until we get to this jump. This jump is completely impossible to do without sprinting, and it's completely impossible to jump up and wall jump off of the wall. Trust me, I tried multiple times, and it does not work. So sadly, level 6-2 is going to be impossible. Level 6-3 is another level that looks like it's going to be really hard, just because you have to grab the keys from these saw blades, and usually you'd think you'd have to sprint for that, but you don't actually have to, so this level is actually pretty easy. Level 6-4 is pretty much the exact same as 6-3. It looks like it'd be really hard without sprinting just because of all the spinning saws, but after a couple of attempts, it's done easily. And now we've made it to 6-5, the final level in the game, and it's impossible. This is our 3rd impossible level of the game. I can't make it over to the left because I'd get hit by the saw blade, and I can't wall jump up, so this is impossible. With those levels completed, I guess, we're on to the final boss of the game, Dr. Fetus. This boss fight's actually pretty simple. It's a lot of just parkour, but once we make it to here, this jump is actually impossible. If you do a very precise wall jump, you can actually curve around the outside wall and make it past the saw blades so we can skip that jump entirely. So this boss, the final boss of the game, is actually possible to do without sprint. Really? Yeah, no. The final jump is actually completely impossible to make, and even if you could make it, you can't even press the button to kill him in the first place. So sadly, this final boss fight is impossible. So yeah, to answer the question, can you beat Super Meat Boy without sprinting? The answer is sadly no. The Brownie boss fight, level 6-2, level 6-5, and the Dr. Fetus boss fight are all completely impossible to do without sprinting. If you have any ideas for how I could beat these in the future, let me know down in the comments below because I'd love to hear any of your ideas. But yeah, I should have a mini Cuphead challenge coming out later this week, and then hopefully a big Cuphead challenge coming out this weekend, but I make no guarantees. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Hold up, just as a gift for people who stayed to the end of the video, my next few videos are going to be Cuphead videos. I'm going to have a mini Cuphead challenge hopefully coming out this week, and then a big Cuphead challenge hopefully coming out this weekend. I make no guarantees that this will actually happen, but that's my plan. So if you see this, comment your favorite boss and tell me why, and maybe it'll appear in the next video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye-bye.